Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we shortcut you to being well-informed by unpacking key insights from important sources. Today we're diving into artificial intelligence. It seems like everyone's talking about it,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And the takes are all over the map. You hear these world-ending fears on one side.
And then these incredibly optimistic, almost utopian visions on the other. It's hard to know what to make of it all.
Exactly. There's just so much noise, a lot of strong emotion. Our goal today is to cut through some of that with solid analysis.
Right. And for this deep dive, we're focusing on a really thought-provoking piece by Vinod Khosla. It's called AI Dystopia, or Utopia, just published September 20th, 2024. Our mission here is to unpack his central argument, that AI isn't just another tech upgrade, it's a fundamental shift. Something totally different from what we've seen before.
And Kosla's perspective is, well, it's pretty unique. This isn't just some commentator. We're talking about someone who's been deep in Silicon Valley for, 4 decades?
Yeah, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, early investor in huge names. He saw the microprocessor revolution, the internet boom, the smartphone era, all unfold from the inside.
So when he talks about disruptive innovation, you kind of have to listen.
Definitely. And his core idea, this difference-in-kind concept, he argues that previous big technologies like the internet were tools for the human brain. They helped us access information, communicate.
Wow. Useful tools.
But AI, he says, directly amplifies and multiplies the human brain itself.
The analogy he uses is powerful. Think about steam engines or electric motors. Before them, we were limited by muscle power.
Human or animal muscle.
Exactly. Engines amplified that physical power, let us do vastly more. Khosla argues AI is doing the same thing for our intellectual capacity, our brain power.
Allowing us to potentially transcend our cognitive limits in a big way.
A really big way. And this leads him to this grand vision. He actually calls it his Star Trek future.
Star Trek. Okay, tell me more.
He imagines a post-scarcity economy. Technology, specifically AI, makes goods so cheap to produce that, well, material scarcity basically becomes a thing of the past.
So things like housing, food, energy become abundant and nearly free.
That's the dream. And in that world, work changes completely. It's not about survival anymore. It becomes something you do out of passion for fulfillment.
Wow. That is a huge vision. Almost hard to wrap your head around.
It is. And to be fair, Khosla acknowledges this isn't going to be easy. He says the journey will be complex. The transition could be quite painful for some.
Which is why policy becomes so important.
Crucial, he stresses that. Well-reasoned policy is essential to navigate this. He talks about the next, say, 0-10 years being different from the 10-25-year period, and that being different again from the 25-50-year outlook.
The pace of change itself is hard to predict.
Very hard. And it means we'll need to fundamentally reinvent parts of our societal infrastructure. Not just tweak things for profit, but redesign them for the collective good.
Okay, let's dig into that difference-in-kind idea a bit more. He's saying AI expands brain power like engines expanded muscle power.
Yeah, it's about a near infinite expansion of thinking ability and knowledge access. Think about it. Before engines, physical limits were hard limits. Engines broke those limits using external energy.
Like oil or steam.
Right. AI is the intellectual version of that, tapping into computational power to push way beyond our inherent biological thinking capacity.
So it's not just faster calculations, it's a fundamental change in what's possible intellectually.
Precisely. And that's the foundation for his post-scarcity dream.
Which sounds amazing, but also involves massive disruption. He talks about most jobs just going away.
He does. Healthcare, law, engineering, retail, you name it. He sees AI eventually doing most of the tasks involved in those jobs.
That sounds terrifying to most people.
Of course. But here's the crucial counterpoint in his vision. The sheer abundance created by AI will be so immense.
That we can afford to support everyone.
Yes. Through redistribution, maybe something like universal basic income, or UBI. He believes the minimum standard of living could actually be higher than it is today, even without traditional jobs.
Because goods and services become incredibly cheap.
Exactly. Substantially cheaper. So people work because they want to, on things they're passionate about, not because they have to scrape by.
He really thinks this impact dwarfs the internet or microprocessors.
Without a doubt. He sees it as completely recharting the course of the world. Rebuilding society.
Okay, if the potential upside is that massive, that's Star Trek, why are so many people focused on the negative, the dystopia side?
That's the core tension, isn't it? Khosla directly tackles these doomer views, as he calls them.
And he thinks they're mostly wrong.
He argues they're largely unfounded, maybe alarmist. He believes the risks are addressable through the choices we make as societies. They aren't inevitable technological outcomes.
He even calls it errant risk-reward arithmetic, like people are miscalculating the odds.
Yeah, focusing too much on often poorly defined fears and underestimating the colossal potential benefits, especially for, the majority of the world's population.
All right, let's break down some of those specific fears he addresses. The biggest one has to be job loss and inequality.
Absolutely. The fear is AI takes all the jobs. Wealth gets even more concentrated at the very top, and both physical and intellectual work lose their value, worsening inequality.
What's Khosla's counter to that? Just hope for the best.
No, not at all. He's very clear. Strong policy interventions are key. Things like income redistribution, setting minimum living standards, UBI is one tool he mentions, and strategic legislation.
And he thinks this is actually achievable in democratic capitalist societies.
He does, because ultimately he argues Western capitalism operates with the permission of democracy. If the system generates enough wealth, and he's convinced AI will generate more than enough, then democracies can, and likely will, demand interventions to ensure broader benefit.
He also ties it to demographics, right?
Yeah.
The aging population.
Yes. He makes the point that with aging populations globally, we might need AI productivity just to maintain standards of living. He even floats the idea of a standard 3-day work week becoming possible, maybe funded by dedicated transition funds, like how Norway uses its oil wealth.
Okay, what about the fear of social control? AI enabling mass surveillance, manipulating public opinion, deepfakes destroying trust, maybe even undermining democracy itself. We're already seeing hints of that.
It's a valid concern, but Khosla argues it's not an inevitable outcome of AI. He believes legislation developed country by country within democracies will shape how AI gets integrated.
So democratic choices matter.
Critically, he also pushes back on the idea of a single, all-powerful AI overlords taking control. He thinks it's much more likely we'll see a diversity of AIs serving different groups and interests, which would actually prevent that kind of power consolidation.
Interesting. Then there's the worry about losing human agency. AI making critical decisions in healthcare or justice, maybe carrying hidden biases, or just eroding our own ethical judgment.
Right. And Khosla offers a counterintuitive take here. He suggests AI could actually help us recognize and correct existing human biases.
How so?
Well, he gives the example of human doctors perhaps being subtly biased towards procedures they get paid more for. An AI, programmed correctly, wouldn't have that financial bias. It could lead to more objective, maybe even more equitable decisions.
So AI is a tool to check our own flaws.
Potentially. He believes humans will ultimately stay in control, using AI to reach better consensus, not letting it run unchecked. And he sees a bigger opportunity here. Freeing people from what he calls survival jobs allows us to redefine human purpose. He imagines education shifting, teaching kids how to explore, imagine, discover, rather than just training them for jobs that might not exist. We can choose how to use technology like the Amish choose to limit it.
What about creativity? Will AI just homogenize culture, make us lazy thinkers?
He thinks that's a pretty narrow view. He sees AI as augmenting human creativity, expanding our capabilities, not replacing them.
He shared a personal story, didn't he?
Yeah, about using AI to create a song for his daughter's wedding, even though he has, in his words, zero musical talent. His point is, if someone like him can do that, imagine what actual talented artists and creators can do with these tools.
So it enables more people to be creative and enhances existing creativity.
That's the idea. And he points to new jobs and industries that always emerge with technology. Think Etsy sellers, Inkit writers, music creators on platforms like Splash. New forms of creativity will emerge.
Okay, let's tackle the big one, the existential risk. AI becoming autonomous, uncontrollable, maybe even malevolent. The Terminator scenario, basically.
Right, the hard takeoff, superintelligence turning against humanity. This is the fear voiced by some really prominent people, even some AI pioneers like Hinton and Bengio.
Did Khosla dismiss this too?
No, he acknowledges this is the most significant potential threat, but he argues it's manageable. He points to the very active field of AI safety research.
Like OpenAI's work on RLHF.
Exactly. Reinforcement learning from human feedback, trying to align AI behavior with human values. Also, work on AI interpretability, understanding why AI makes certain decisions, and research by people like Paul Christiano and Stuart Russell on value alignment.
So people are working on the control problem.
They are. And he also brings in perspectives like Jan LeCun's, arguing that current AI models lack genuine self-awareness or real autonomy, making the sentient takeover scenario less immediate than some fear.
But he doesn't advocate stopping development.
No, quite the opposite. His line is kind of, the cat's out of the bag. Malicious actors will develop AI. So democracies need to develop safe, beneficial AI, partly to defend against the dangerous kind. He also thinks we're more likely to see multiple AIs, not one single entity turning rogue.
Okay, but then he pivots. He says this existential risk, while real, isn't his biggest fear.
Correct. This is maybe the most crucial part of his argument regarding dystopia. Khosla's primary concern, the nightmare scenario for him, is losing the AI race to authoritarian states, specifically China.
Ah, so it's geopolitical.
Very much so. He sees the potential for China to use advanced AI for mass surveillance, social control, global manipulation influencing elections in the West, controlling information flow, dominating key infrastructure like 5G or platforms like TikTok as the real immediate dystopian threat to democratic societies.
And slowing down AI development in the West plays right into their hands.
That's his fear. He argues that excessive regulation, driven by maybe overblown fears of sentient AI, could cripple Western innovation and essentially cede the future to China. That, for him, is the true dystopia we should be focused on preventing. It's a strategic imperative.
What about the power of tech companies? The fear that CEOs like Zuckerberg or Musk could become more powerful than government?
He acknowledges it's a concern, but he frames it as a kind of forced choice.
Between powerful CEOs and powerful authoritarians.
Essentially, yes. He argues that tech CEOs, however influential, are still constrained by markets, users, shareholders. They need public support, at least to some degree. Authoritarian leaders like Xi Jinping face far fewer constraints. So, given the choice, he implies the Western model, even with powerful corporations, is preferable to a world dominated by a technologically advanced authoritarian China.
Okay, that covers the major fears in his responses. Let's flip to the other side, the utopian promise. You said he finds the doomer views cognitively lazy.
Yeah, lacking imagination, maybe coming from people who are already pretty comfortable and insulated from the world's biggest problems. He often brings up statistics like, 40% of Americans struggling with a $400 emergency expense or hundreds of millions lacking basic health care.
So his focus is on how AI can solve real pain for the majority.
Exactly. For the bottom half of the planet, as he puts it. That's where he sees the massive utopian potential lying.
And it starts with efficiency and productivity gains.
Huge gains. He estimates that within 25 years, AI could perform 80% of the tasks in 80% of current jobs. Think doctors, lawyers, engineers, farm workers, often performing better and more consistently than humans.
Wow, 80% of 80%. That's about 2/3 of all work tasks.
It's a staggering number. Initially, he sees humans maybe supervising teams of AI interns, doubling their own productivity. But beyond jobs, AI could transform resource discovery, finding lithium, cobalt, optimizing energy use, which ties into sustainability as well.
Which improves quality of life. Let's talk about that. He mentioned robots.
Bipedal robots, yeah. He envisions them doing the jobs humans generally don't want to do: housekeeping, elder care, dangerous factory work, stoop labor on farms, freeing humans from drudgery or servitude, as he calls it.
And he thinks this will be a massive industry.
1 billion robots in 25 years, he predicts. Bigger than the entire auto industry today.
That's one aspect. What else for quality of life? Transportation.
AI-driven autonomous transit. He talks about personal rapid transit systems possibly replacing most cars, which could increase street capacity tenfold, making getting around locally much cheaper and faster.
And our digital lives.
Personal AI agents for everyone, acting purely in your best interest, shielding you from manipulative advertising, political propaganda, addictive brain hacks.
Like a personal digital guardian angel?
Sort of. He uses that spy versus spy analogy, your AI battling other AIs trying to influence you.
Okay, healthcare is a huge one he mentions for the utopian side.
Oh, absolutely central to his vision. Personalized medicine, super early disease detection, maybe dramatically reducing chronic diseases like diabetes or heart disease.
Making healthcare better and cheaper.
Yes, improving quality, consistency, accessibility, eventually becoming, in his view, nearly free.
Nearly free primary care, mental health support.
That's the vision. AI oncologists with instant access to every relevant study, AI therapists available 24/7. He points to that UK example again, AI already handling a large chunk of mental health intake for the NHS, with good results.
And the global impact could be immense.
That's his key argument. He insists AI is the only feasible way to scale high-quality healthcare to the entire global population of nearly 8 billion people, to lift everyone to the standard of living enjoyed by the top 10% today.
You mentioned preventing child deaths.
Yeah, citing a Lancet study suggesting better primary care, potentially delivered via AI, could prevent millions of child deaths annually in developing nations. He even speculates that healthcare in a remote Indian village could, with faster AI adoption, surpass what's available at Stanford.
That's a powerful image. What about education?
Similar transformation, personalized learning for every single student, AI tutors adapting to individual needs, pace, interests. Imagine that.
Breaking the link between zip code and educational opportunity.
Completely. Democratizing knowledge globally. He talks about near-free, 247 AI tutors for every child on Earth, unlocking potential, passion, hope, especially for girls in underserved regions.
And you mentioned sustainability links earlier. AI optimizing energy, developing renewables.
Right. Optimizing grids, designing new materials for batteries or solar panels, accelerating research into fusion energy. He's personally betting on fusion boilers replacing coal plants by 2050, enabled by AI. Smarter agriculture, too.
But what about AI's own energy use? Isn't that a problem?
It's a concern, but he argues algorithmic efficiency and hardware improvements are rapidly reducing the energy cost per computation, making sustainable AI expansion possible.
Okay, back to humans. How does AI enhance our capabilities, our creativity?
By augmenting our intelligence for tackling really complex problems, climate change, scientific discovery, and as we discuss, acting as a creative partner for artists, musicians, writers, enabling hyper-personalized experiences like interactive music tailored just for you.
Removing barriers like lack of traditional talent or money.
Exactly, allowing more people to pursue artistic passions and creating entirely new professions we can't even imagine yet, just like technology always has.
And governance. Can AI make society more just?
That's the hope. More evidence-based policy, increased transparency. He envisions near-free AI lawyers for everyone, ensuring access to justice. Even AI judges assisting in resolving conflicts quickly and, potentially, with less human bias.
Providing essential advice, legal, financial, as a near-free public service.
That's part of the utopian package, yes.
So all of this leads to human flourishing, a shift in focus.
Right. Moving beyond just economic growth towards well-being, fulfillment. Allowing people from a young age to pursue passions rather than just train for a job.
Redefining what it means to be human.
Exactly. He mentioned that quote of his from way back in 2000. We need to redefine humanity away from the assembly line or, spending 16 hours manipulating spreadsheets in finance. It's about finding purpose beyond the grind.
He mentions Keynes' old prediction of a 15-hour work week. Khosla sees maybe a 3-day week.
In 10, 20 years, potentially. More time for learning, hobbies, family, exploration, whatever truly makes people feel alive. Freedom from basic survival needs lets our true human nature emerge, he hopes.
But he knows there will be obstacles, right? Resistance.
Oh, definitely. He lists them. Incumbent industries fighting back, like the Screen Actors Guild strike partially showed, political exploitation of fears, technical glitches, funding gaps, general anti-tech sentiment. The modern Luddites media focusing disproportionately on the negative.
But he remains optimistic. He thinks utopia is achievable.
He believes it's an achievable probability if we make the right choices. And he doesn't think AI power will inevitably consolidate because the tools themselves are becoming more accessible. Cloud platforms, low-code tools, APIs, allowing more people to innovate.
Okay, let's bring this back to the economics, the transition phase. He said the next 5 years might be incremental, but 10, 20 years out gets dramatic. Utopia is maybe 25 years away.
Right. The timeline is crucial. And this forces a rethink of capitalism itself. He argues Western capitalism must evolve. It can't just be about maximizing efficiency anymore.
Needs new goals.
Yeah, explicitly adding goals like reducing income disparity, improving equality and human happiness. He calls for a more empathetic capitalism, arguing the abundance created by AI gives us the room to prioritize this.
Even as a venture capitalist himself.
Yes, he acknowledges the flaws in the current system, how it can incentivize demand generation even beyond real need. He again draws that parallel to the Luddites resisting mechanization, arguing that progress like AI can't be stopped, so we must focus on managing the transition empathetically, minimizing the short-term harm.
Which brings us back to wage compression and job disruption. AI levels the playing field, skills-wise.
That's the prediction. It compresses wages because AI can do many tasks equally well, regardless of human skill level. Value shifts away from labor towards things like creativity, innovation, owning capital, or owning the AI systems themselves.
And he really insists this time is different from past tech shifts.
He does, because past revolutions, while disruptive, ultimately created more new jobs than they destroyed. AI, he fears, might be different because it could eventually surpass all human capabilities, making traditional retraining or upskilling potentially impotent.
And the speed is faster.
Much faster. He compares it to the shift out of agriculture in the US that took maybe 3 generations. AI's impact could happen within 1 or even less. Hence that 80% of jobs figure within 25 years. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, eventually even manual labor as robotics catches up, maybe 5-10 years behind the software AI.
That U.S. physician salary example is stark if expertise costs drop 90%.
Right, $300–400 billion currently spent. If that cost plummets, does demand for things like preventive care or mental health skyrocket? That's the Jevons paradox idea. Efficiency makes something cheaper, so use more of it. But even so, the sheer scale of job function replacement leads him back to policy.
UBI is the equalizer.
He sees it as potentially the best option to ensure median income keeps pace with average income, preventing massive inequality. Although he notes humans might still prefer human interaction for some things, creating niches for handmade or human-centric work.
Okay, what about deflation? AI makes things cheaper. Productivity soars. That sounds good. But isn't deflation usually bad for economies?
Typically, yes. Historical deflation often comes with falling demand, recession, job losses. But Khosla envisions a new kind of deflation.
Deflationary growth.
Exactly. AI-driven deflation where costs plummet. But crucially, this is combined with something like UBI. So even as prices fall, people's spending power increases. They can consume more, live better.
So GDP might even fall, but well-being goes up.
That's the provocative idea. Our current economic language, equating GDP growth with prosperity, might just break down. It might distort reality in a world of near-zero-cost goods and services delivered by AI. This means, again, policy is key taxes. Regulations will need careful adjustment to manage income distribution. The economy of ideas, driven by innovation, becomes even more central than labor or capital.
So the policy choices boil down to accelerate AI, slow it down, or try to moderate. And how do we help those displaced?
Khosla firmly lands on accelerate. Adapt, don't slow down, especially because of the China race. Craft empathetic policies for this new post-scarcity world. Don't try to preserve the old one.
Structural changes needed. National, international. UBI seems central.
Yes, he sees UBI as crucial. He argues that sustained high GDP growth, maybe 4–6% annually driven by AI over decades, could lead to astonishing levels of wealth, like $1 million per capita GDP. In such an abundant world, he believes generosity and the willingness to redistribute will naturally increase.
But proceed carefully.
Very carefully. Watch the changes closely. Make small, continuous policy adjustments. Avoid big, irreversible actions based on fear or incomplete understanding.
And his final consumer utopia vision. He compared it to China joining the WTO.
Right, but as a contrast, China WTO led to cheaper goods in the U.S., but also job losses and wage stagnation, arguably reducing overall consumer spending power for many.
Whereas AI-led deflation.
Combined with policies like UBI, could increase spending power because the cost of living plummets towards zero for basic goods and services delivered by machines. He envisions a standard of living in 25+ years beyond the dreams of ancient kings. His hope is that people then shift focus from consumption as status towards genuine happiness and fulfillment.
Wow. Okay, this has been an incredibly detailed look at Vinod Khosla's arguments. It really underscores that the future, dystopia or utopia, isn't set in stone.
Not at all. It hinges on the choices we make now, the policies we enact. It's about guiding the technology, not just letting it happen.
And that core idea, AI, as the necessary force multiplier.
Yeah. To take the lifestyle enjoyed by, say, the wealthiest 700 million people today and make it possible for all 7 or 8 billion people on the planet, he argues it's simply impossible without the productivity leap AI offers.
But AI alone isn't enough.
Absolutely not. Necessary, but not sufficient. It demands matching innovation in our social, political, and economic systems. We have to choose wisely, use AI for good, and not let fear paralyze us from reaping the benefits.
It comes back to that profound point he made years ago. We will need to redefine what it means to be human. Not about work, but about passions, imagination, relationships. So the question for you listening is, what does all this mean for you? What's your definition of human flourishing look like in a world potentially reshaped by AI? Something to think about.